What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Dave Knows Comics live stream. Finally, is it here? The Crisis on Infinite Earths. DC's Arrowverse has kicked on, and 3 episodes are out. So, what's the verdict? How is the show going down? What is going on with it? Is it any good? On, and let's discuss all those things and find out because, hey, very important. At least if you ask me. As far as I'm concerned, this is a really big deal. Been excited for this. So let's get into the show today. Let's talk about this. I know a lot of stuff has been happening in the world of comic books as of this week. Wow, this is early. Yeah, it is early, Nigo Montoya. It's just, I was so excited. I had to get this out there now. I almost came on yesterday for it, but I wound up being in the middle of a radio show and a podcast at the same time, so I didn't really have any time for that. So I figured get my thoughts out on this now. There's a chance I might come back on later today. I'm definitely going to do the wrestling channel, but there's a shot I might come on and try to do more on the comic book channel today. Peace to you as well. Hey, we missed you too, Muhammad. Glad to see you, especially now that we get to talk about the Crisis on Infinite Earths in the Arrow universe, which I find very odd that we're talking about Infinite Earths and we're saying the Arrowverse, because it doesn't sound right. If it's on multiple Earths and the multiverse, then how can it all be in the Arrowverse? Sounds very odd, but I guess we know what they mean. Anyway, so good. Glad to see you. Hey, well, happy birthday, Muhammad. Glad that you are here and glad that you just had a lovely birthday. Hope you enjoyed yourself. Hope you had fun, of course. And what better gift than checking out the Crisis on Infinite Earths? Now, wow, all right. Now, to get everybody on the same page, just so you don't know, well, the Arrowverse, stemming from the show Arrow on the C-Dubs, we've been seeing what's been pretty cool is that we've been seeing them over the years. They've been building up with the Flash series, Supergirl, and how cute is she, by the way? Supergirl and all these other shows now, Batwoman as well as the Legends show, they've been building up. Now, they've been building up for years, creating more and more, extending out this TV show universe, which has been very good. And they've made it to the point now where they decided to finally do one of the major DC comic titles of all time, Crisis on Infinite Earths, something that has been a huge endeavor, and I could not believe they were taking this on. But they figured, why not stop there? Why stop there if they didn't have to? Why not go to the next level? Why not? Don't worry, guys, we'll be talking about all about the controversies of it. So, by the way, if you have not been checking this out yet and you want to avoid spoilers, definitely come back later because we will be tackling spoilers. So they finally decided to get everybody together to do Crisis on Infinite Earths, but they figure, why stop there? Let's tackle into other DC properties. Like, oh wait, I just remembered. Oh, and thank you for the thumbs up, by the way. They figure, why stop there? Why not work on other properties? Why not, and as I said, I warned you guys, spoilers, why not Smallville? Another DC property from another television show. Why not bring that in for Crisis on Infinite Earths? Why not also Brandon Routh's Superman? Why not a lot of other interesting properties and characters, one of which I think we all know, been talking about already in the comments, but we'll get to them later. Why not? Now, why not get into it? So this is a huge undertaking, so I was extremely psyched for the show, and I'll be honest, I don't really watch any of these shows normally. Supergirl, Arrow, I saw the first episode of Arrow, I saw a couple episodes of Flash in the beginning, and I haven't watched either in years. Now, I watched Smallville. I've seen every episode of Smallville, but then there was also everything. But Supergirl I never even saw. Batwoman I never saw. So a lot of this is my first exposure on. Oh, Vinny Montana, my thoughts on the original Batman '89. I don't think it's as good as a lot of people remember. I don't have fond memories of it. Michael Keaton, fantastic actor, not Batman to me. Do love Jack Nicholson as the Joker, though. I think that he's absolutely fantastic in live action. All right, so this was all news to me. Brand new for me. So I'm diving into this just because I'm so excited for this event. And so, first thing I have to say is that for somebody who hasn't been keeping up with the universe, well, of course they're going to tie into their own canon. I was pleasantly surprised that you don't feel lost. It's like, this is where we're at, this is who we are. But I don't feel that they were dumbing down and regurgitating things to new fans. they gave you the right amount of context. Like I figured out who is who. Like the character of Mia is Green Arrow's daughter in the show. Here you are, but they're not hitting you over the head with it. And by the way, how cute is Mia as well? Also, hey, Ronda Reflex, my man. Okay, so let's get into the comments. Let's see what everyone's going on. Okay, so all you guys are already jumping right in. So good. Hey, good morning, Ryan Armstrong. Glad we're talking about this. Glad everybody's getting involved. Okay, so where should we start? Well, I'm glad that Vinny Montana brought it up. One of the major things that they're bringing up in the show was the character of Oliver Queen in the first episode. He sacrifices himself at the end to save billions of lives, holding off the assault so that way more people can evacuate Earth as it gets destroyed. And in doing so, unfortunately, he has to give his life. His daughter Mia, on the other hand, cannot accept this, so they decide her, as well as some of the other heroes, are going to take him and put him into a Lazarus pit. They discover an Earth that still has a functional Lazarus pit, and they're going to bring Oliver Queen back. Problem is, the way that works in the show, the way it's explained to me, was that his body will be back, his soul's a different story. You need to bring the soul back later. So they actually go into purgatory to get his soul back. And finally, when they do, Ollie doesn't go. He decides he's going to stick on because he has to take the new duties of the Spectre. Pretty big stuff. And one thing that this Crisis is doing is breaking the characters up into groups and taking several, very similar to the MCU Infinity War strategy, where they're breaking up into different teams. But so they have different goals. So one team's goal is to bring back Ollie. Another team's goal is to do this from the time they switch. And I think that's really cool. Ross says we need Flash Cat. Need seems like a strong word, but glad that you are here, Robert Reflex. Yeah, about the small thing, I have lots of questions. Good. We're going to be tackling now, just so you know, that's one of the storylines. There are other storylines here. There are tons of controversies here. Tons of controversies about some of these characters and what has happened. We will be tackling them, but let's get one at a time. Alexander Knox cameo was good. Muhammad liked that. So I'm glad that you guys have seen it. Quick, yes, and Vinny Montana is correct. Quick cameo from Burt Ward, who played Robin in the 1960s Batman series. Streaky. What's streaky? Okay. All right, I was going to hold off on this one, but this is definitely something I need to talk about. As Ryan Armstrong points out, the Arrowverse's or Supergirl's Lex Luthor is, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's Supergirl's, but Ducky. That's what I actually saved that picture as when I uploaded it. I saved it as Ducky, for those of you who don't know. And by the way, I'm not a fan of this. And don't bother correcting me by saying, well, obviously you don't remember that it's because Don Cryer played... Shut up! I know he was in the crappy Superman movie as Lex's nephew. Not the point. And I'm not trying to say Ducky is a terrible actor or anything like that. No, I didn't watch 2.5 Men. I never saw it. I never got the appeal of it. But Ducky is not... Look, no. And what's with the beard? Okay, look, I don't know why this Lex is bald. But if it is for a reason why if he can't have hair on his head, he probably shouldn't have it on his face. All right? The only reason that beard's there to hide the fact that he's Ducky. Anyway, no, I'm with you, Ryan Armstrong. I'm a big Lex fan. Lex is my favorite superhero, super villain. Is like one of my favorite characters of all time, unless in comic books. He's the guy unless you count He-Man, and He-Man wins. Spider-Man's up there too, so he's in my top 3 pantheon. But for the most part, he's my favorite character. Generally speaking, I could say that up there. So I am very particular about what happens to Lex. And I also know that if Lex isn't done right, it falls apart. Lex has to be done correctly, or else things don't make sense. It's like, if this guy is such a big bad running the big show, how could he be a bumbling idiot? There's certain things that don't add up for me. So you got him, and if you capture him just once, you just kind of ruined his persona. Like Justice League cartoon, the animated series did a very good job of having Lex go to jail, being the robot green super suit, and then having him get out, redeem himself, and going back in the public eye as a philanthropist. They did a good-ish job. They did as good a job as you can do. But for me, if Lex gets arrested, how does he come back as this public figure? Because the appeal of Lex to me is that the public at large think he's a good guy. And it's only the Justice League and the Daily Planet that says, he's not all that great. But meanwhile, everyone just thinks, oh, the Daily Planet's just trolling. That's all they are. Lex is great. What are you talking about? He saved Metropolis. He's the one who fixed up Metropolis before Superman ever came along. Lex Luthor's great. They look at him. The rest of the world looks at Lex Luthor like Elon Musk, but then you got this one newspaper that just keeps talking trash about him. And it's like, oh, they're just haters, they're trolling, and that's what it looks like. And Justice League knows that the guy does dirty, but they can't do anything about it because they're the Justice League and they don't have any evidence and they got to obey the law. And if they don't obey the law, then they're just as bad as him. So like that's the whole appeal. But as soon as you take that veneer off, as soon as you put him in jail and everyone knows he's evil, then how do you accomplish anything with him anymore? How do you utilize him at his best possible features? It's very hard to do. But yes, I am totally So Ducky, no, doesn't work for me. Sorry. Okay, so the Red Skies are interesting, especially since they did that in the Justice League movie. So that Lex diatribe over. So the Red Skies are interesting. We'll get into that. Her name is Streaky. Supercat's name is Streaky. Oh, sorry. So yeah, okay, and here's the other thing. John Cryer Lex is very much involved in this series. He plays a pivotal part, as the Monitor even tells you he plays a pivotal part. And at the end of the third episode, because we gotta wait till the new year, we gotta wait till next year until we get the conclusion with the last 2 episodes of this, and I cannot possibly wait. It's like I want it right now. But at the cliffhanger ending, Brandon Routh's Superman shows is the setup for the story is that they're gonna have paradigms for different paradigms for seven of them to represent different values, different virtues like honor and courage. And these 7 are going to be the representatives to save the crisis, stop the crisis on Infinite Earths. And there's this Book of Destiny, which is an all-powerful book. Lex gets a hold of it. They apparently destroyed it, but they brought it back for the series. Lex gets a hold of it and changes it and writes his own name in to take over Brandon Routh's character of Superman. So this was something that they did to put him in. So he's going to be a pivotal part going forward. Now, unfortunately, this means for me, and I'll get more into this later on because there was a lot more that happened with John Cryer's Lex. But the biggest thing for me is that they put him in there. So I mean, does that make for a more interesting dynamic? Sure, but I actually liked what they did with Brandon Routh's character. But anyway, we'll get into that. But the thing about Lex, the way they portrayed him, is that he's going to be a major part of it. But the downside of it, where's my boy at? The live action Lex, as far as I'm concerned, my man Michael Rosenbaum. That's the dude. That is the best live action Lex ever. Clancy Brown, much props to him because and his voice acting very different, but I like his portrayal. Don't make me choose between these two. They're both, great. And not only do I believe that Michael Rosenbaum is the best Lex, I even told him that to his face when me and him met each other. All right, that's right. We're cool. Awesome guy in real life. We were talking. Big fan of his. I even talked about some other movies that he did. There was that he was surprised that I knew about, but we were talking. So me and him, And then right when I told him that, and this was right before it was announced that he would do the Smallville finale, and I talked to him, and we talked to him about it, and I said, dude, you got to do the finale. You got to do the finale. Now, right after that, he announced that he would be doing the Smallville finale. Now, look, I'm not saying that I'm the reason that happened. However, when asked why, he did say it was because of the fans. So, while I'm not saying it, I'm also saying you're welcome. So, I'm not saying I did it, but at the same hand, you're welcome. Anyway, let's check in with the comments because this is a loaded 3-part series. 3 episodes are out by now. If you don't know, Streaky was a terrible name. Absolutely. Okay, let's unpack. Let's unpack one at a time. Let's get into the chat. See what you guys are talking about. Do you think now that Earth 1 is destroyed, since they're in the vanishing point, that they will have to go to the beginning of time to fight the Anti-Monitor? Oh, very good reference to the original comic book series of the same name. And yes, I do. I do think that's where it's going. Inigo Montoya, your pantheon is Spider-Man, He-Man, and Lex Luthor. Yes, it would be. Muhammad says, is Brandon Routh the future version of the Reeves/Ruth films or a different version? Good question. Let's get into that. Because they played the theme. Yes. Dave, did you like Kate Kane? Yes, I would like to bring that up while we're at it because I think that's important to talk about. This was my first exposure to this universe's Batwoman, and I gotta admit, I really like this character. I think the actress is doing a fantastic job of playing this role. fairly unique to me. Now the reason why I never really got into these shows, any of these shows, is I've given them a try. Legends Tomorrow, I gave a shot, but they were all very cheesy to me. They were all very campy, and like I didn't like that feel. And like Smallville, I watched every episode of Smallville, and Smallville had the same feel too. And it was too much for me in Smallville, but I just kind of got used to it, and I was like, oh, I'm invested in the show. And I took a break from Smallville, and I eventually had to catch up. But this series, well, there are some moments of it where you do feel it's a little ridiculous, it's a little cheesy. Overall, I do like what I'm seeing. I think it's being presented well. Now, to get to the point here, Kate Kane, I do like how they're interpreting this character. I think she is like badass and she's cool. And there's like the part, and when, and I don't want to, we'll talk about this later, but at the part where Kara talks about using the Book of Destiny to bring back her destroyed home world and everybody she's lost during the crisis, which, of course, has to be something that she has to consider. And you could go mad for that. Now, the problem is, if we lose her, she is one of the Paragons too. If it's too much for her and we lose Supergirl, then the crisis doesn't get solved. She's a pivotal part. So Batwoman contemplates what she has to do to keep her, and she tells her that. And they have a conversation where she tells her, like, I need you more importantly because you're part of the crisis. Yeah, losing your world sucks, but you have to stay intact. And they don't say it. They don't even show it. But it's highly implied that Batwoman probably had some kryptonite stashed away in her hand, kind of to do dirty if she needed to. But then they follow it up. I don't know if she was ever going to use it or not, but they make it seem like she was going to. But anyway, at the end of the conversation, Supergirl says, "You know what? You're right, Batwoman. I can't do this now. We'll figure this out later. You're right. We need to do it this way." And then so Batwoman just gives her the kryptonite and says, "All right, here you go. I was going to use this, but she doesn't even say she was going to use it. I don't think, if I remember correctly, she just gives it to her and says, "All right, I'm giving this to you." And then Supergirl's like, "Why are you giving this to me?" She's like, she goes, "Because I got enough faith in you to know that I will never need this." And then if I remember, and I feel, they don't show it, but I feel like she had that in her hand ready to go the whole time. Like, I don't think it was at the end, "Oh, Supergirl's cool. Here you go. I don't need this." I think it was more like, "I'm ready to go. Oh, crap, I don't need this. Oh, okay." But I thought that was a cool review. I thought the conversation was really good. I thought that whole scene was really, really good. Muhammad's with me, Michael Rosenbaum. I told him on Twitter, and he responded to some of my tweets. Nice. He's a cool guy. Ryan Armstrong. What about John Shea, who played Lex Luthor and Lois Clark? Fine. No, ain't no Michael Rosenbaum. Not even close. Gene Hackman gets the nod for the runner-up in live action. Very different Lex, but the Lex at that time, he did fine with. So, does that mean that for Tom Welling, he touched blue kryptonite? Oh! Well, let's go into it. Okay, so one of the major controversies, I was hoping we could save off on this, but why not? One of the major controversies was what happened to Tom Welling in this show. Now, in episode 2, he shows up, and we see him on the Smallville farm from the show, or it looks very similar to the one in the show. And we learn when John Cryer, now what happens is John Cryer's Lex Luthor is going around trying, with the Book of Destiny, his new goal is, forget about stopping the crisis, he wants to kill all Supermen in all Earths. And he's going down, systematically breaking them down. I mean, you could have probably just waited since it's a crisis on infinite Earths, and Earths are blown up everywhere. You probably could have just wrote it out. But anyway, he's using the Book of Destiny to destroy all Supermen. Not just one Superman, all Supermen. And he goes to Smallville's Earth, and then he goes to it says, Earth, whatever number it is, and he goes to use kryptonite on that Clark Kent who's just working at the farm, and Clark just picks it up and throws it away like it's no big deal. And he doesn't, and Ducky Lex doesn't understand why. And then that's when Tom Welling's character says that it's because it would still work on him if he still had his powers. And he explains that he gave up his powers, and that him and Lois are married on the farm, and that they have girls. Didn't say how many girls. I assume 2. I think maybe even twins. There's no reason for me to think that. It's just something I'm assuming. But anyway, so you find out that he gave up his powers, and he's married with Lois. They live on the farm. They got girls. They have a family and all that. So, some people have been freaking out about this. Like, Are they just saying that Smallville, the epilogue to Smallville, is that he just quits being Superman? Now, a lot of fans were bothered that they never got to see Tom Welling in the Superman suit, and they've been aching for it. And hearing that Tom Welling was going to be in this, they thought, finally, we're going to see Tom Welling as Superman. Personally, I've said it before, I've never needed that. Seeing Tom Welling in the suit has never been something I absolutely needed to happen. Never has been. I like the conceit of the show Smallville. It leads up to Superman. It's everything before. We don't need to see him in the super suit. It's okay. That's, to be the conceit of the show. That's what it was designed for. And I'm perfectly okay with that. Oh, and yes, they do also mention that in Smallville, Lex is the president. That version of Lex. And that he doesn't even recognize Ducky Lex. He goes, who are you? You're not Lex Luthor. You know, like that's kind of thing. So they do recognize that everybody doesn't look necessarily right. Okay, Robert Reflex says, I need Lex Luthor to have Loki's voice. Loki Lex indeed. So yeah, some people have been upset that this might mean the end of it. Hey, Dave Long, been a while, fella. How you doing? I'm busy as always. How are you doing? Kevin, we'll get to the Kevin Conroy part later on. So Blue Kryptonite gets rid of Superman's powers. I thought, is Gold like the instant kill? Or if I'm not mistaken, I thought Gold got rid of his powers. Or am I just thinking of the comic books? Because if I'm not mistaken, it was Gold. I do remember them introducing Blue, but I thought Gold was like the perma end, right? Smallville fans, refresh my memory. What does Blue Kryptonite do in Smallville? What does Gold Kryptonite do? Because remember the wedding ring with Lois at the end? Refresh my memory. Vince, maybe Lex became a good guy, and that's why Clark gave up his powers. It's a possibility. I doubt it, but it's a possibility. Because if you read the season 11 comic books that they made out about Smallville, they kind of did a different thing with Lex. I love that Lex came back at the end, but I thought it was weird that they just wiped his memory. But it's also going to be impossible for him to have his to him know who Superman is and just it not being a big deal. 75, and Earth 75, was that a Christopher Reeves reference? I feel like it could be, but here we got some other issues with it. It was Earth 77, Vinny Montana, and yeah, I missed you too. Everyone here missed it. Yes, everybody here did. I haven't finished the Smallville Season 11 comics. Okay, that's cool. Cried when I first saw Kevin Conroy, but hey, well, don't worry, we'll get into that. Well, technically, we did get to see him in the super suit at the episode where they showed him Fortress Solitude. That is true. That is true. But I know a lot of fans wanted to see him in his full glory, like really, really get a good look at him. But yeah, for me, never been something I needed. But anyway, now, remember, this is Infinite Earths. There's a possibility this is just... Whoa, screen frizz out. Dave, seriously, Mab? Mab? What's Mab? So anyway, one of the major components of the show for me was that the major conceit of this is I pulled the differences in kryptonites. Okay, thank you, Router Reflex. Please share it with us, but not in the comic books, in the Smallville universe. Okay, very different story. Streaming this early. Yeah, no, I came on early today. I'm just so excited about Crisis, I have to talk about it. But yeah, in the Smallville universe specifically, not the comic books. The comic books is a different story. That I got. It's a Smallville. It's been a while since I've seen Smallville, so I'm trying to remember because I think Gold is super bad for him, but it's like perma bad for him, if I'm not mistaken. I believe. If my memory stands correct, I believe in the comic books, in the story, whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow, whatever happened to Man of Steel, Man of Tomorrow, Gold Kryptonite is what takes his powers away permanently, and that's what it does. But I don't know if that translates to Smallville. Again, I might be mistaken. So yeah, Base Up says if Flash doesn't, you want Flash? Yeah, well, you want him to stick to the comic book. Okay, Base Up, I understand. Dave Long says, awesome. Okay, just work. Yeah, more work. Dude, I know how it is. Gold strips his powers, Blue kills Bizarro, doesn't it? I'm talking about in the comic books, but what about in Smallville, the show? That's the question. That's the thing we're struggling with. Vinny Montana, Stargirl, Green Lantern, and Booster Gold are all set to appear in the final stages. Good, because Green Lantern's a major character. As said by the showrunners, there are 10 unannounced cameos. Ooh. Not complaining about being early suits me just fine, considering that it's late in my country. Also, okay, well, yeah. Just kind of came on. All right, and because this has been a big comic book week. All right. So, all right. Anyway, while we're getting that sorted out for the Smallville show, and you know what? It doesn't matter. So, this is Infinite Earths. As said by Owlman, in a multiverse, you have some universes that are so similar, you would have to go down to the molecule to find any differences. There's a shot that this is just a parallel Earth that is not the Smallville series. That this is just a similar Earth, but it's not that Earth. Okay, maybe that Earth is a different Earth. So we can rest assured that that doesn't necessarily mean that this is Superman, the powerless, depowered permanently for Smallville. So you Smallville fans who might be very upset at this, there's a shot that has nothing to do with this. This is just a one-off. There's something else to bring up is that when they were talking about the writers, one of the writers who were working on Crisis also wrote for Smallville, and if I'm not mistaken, she said that the whole point was that when you think of Tom Welling's Superman, where do you see him? Where can you picture him? You picture him on the farm. It's Smallville, after all. That's the kind of guy he is, and you want to see him in that. That's the necessary part where if we get different, the first image that you think of when you think of like the Christopher Reeve Superman, it's I think of him with Lois, I think of him in Metropolis flying around the city, that kind of thing. But Smallville is where he belongs, and that cameo doesn't need him to wear. And that if you get one scene with him, one location, you think of him in Smallville, you think of him on the farm. You don't need him to have the suit. You don't need him to have any powers. You don't need him to fly around. You just need him like the way we got him as a farm boy. That's where he's down home. That's where he's at home. That's where it really feels right. And apparently, this was said to be one of the major reasons that brought Tom into the series, that got him to do it okay, because he got that idea. And plus, with so many Supermen, and one of the major parts of this is the Brandon Routh Superman is supposed to be. We'll get to it later. Is supposed to be the Superman that suffered a great tragedy, like the most horrible tragedy. Smallville Superman apparently is the one that gets the happy ending. He gets to retire, he gets to have his family, he gets to have a happily ever after. So in the series of this show, we get to have both. So you contrast one with the other. The great tragedy Superman, and then you have the happy ending Superman. And why not be that Clark? Why not be that Superman? Why not? He's earned it. And something else, though, to consider, and what I think is really the correct answer is, as we saw, the Smallville series has taken cues from the movies. Jonathan Kent, their own version, interpretation of what happened with the original Superman movie. But then, what about Superman 2? Well, that happens when he's Superman. I wouldn't doubt if this is their interpretation of the events of Superman 2, where Superman gives up his powers. So, you could also view this as a temporary stasis. They just happen to find Superman during this time period where he doesn't have his powers. Meanwhile, it will happen. He will get them back, and then they'll just go back into Superman 2 in their version. Hopefully, they don't really get to Superman 3 or the next one. But you get my point. So to me, this could just be that they just happen to find him during this time period. But meanwhile, he'll come back. You never know. So, but that's my thoughts. It's a huge undertaking, but I really like the depth into this, and I like that. So, as somebody who's watched every episode of Smallville, it's like I do have an attachment to that world and that show. Capping it off and saying he gave up his powers doesn't bother me. If they give him the whatever happened, man, tomorrow storyline, I'm okay with it. But if this is just the Superman 2 version, I'm okay with that too. All right. Per Smallville fan, blue kryptonite strips Kryptonians of their powers, making them mortal and thus susceptible to damage and pain. Okay, so maybe it was blue. What about gold? But what does gold do? What is that? Just like instant evaporation or something? 90s Flash sacrifice was pretty sad. Yeah. I didn't realize how bad that costume looked until I saw it again, though. I will say I remember it looking way cooler when I was a kid. Half Flash give his power ripping. I mean, one Flash did sacrifice himself, so you got that there. Gold kryptonite removes Kryptonian powers pre-crisis, and power loss is permanent. Post-crisis, it lasts for a short amount of time. In the show. But yeah, that's the way I remember gold kryptonite. But yes, what about in the show? Smallville. But thank you, Router Reflex. Thank you, Dave Long, for pointing this out. Dave Long. Gold kryptonite was first mentioned when Clark Luthor told Tessmacher that the scar on him was caused by Lex Luthor using a gold K to do it in his universe. Okay. Muhammad, very well, thanks to you. Okay, taking a quick break from inking. Too bad Lois and Clark aired on ABC. It would have been great. It would have been great to see that. And hey, not saying you couldn't, because the 1966 Batman show didn't air on CW, so you never know. Gotham and Fox, I think, is the bigger problem, but also you never know. In a way, Smallville Clark is whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow. Yeah, and I'm okay with that. Um, and I do, and he also, the funny thing is, he also punches like straight up. He's like, "I'm still stronger than you." It's like that's another thing I love. It's like when you have a depowered Clark, people always forget about that. Oh, he's gonna be super weak now. It's like he's still this big buff dude. Does everyone not notice that? And it's like Tom Welling looks huge now. Um, there is one new Clark and Lois TV show announced for the. Okay, cool. Ryan Reynolds shows up in Crisis as Green Lantern. I don't think they'll do that, but you never know. I mean, I don't think that'll happen, but yeah. And that's the other thing. I'm tired of Green Lantern. I think has taken enough of a beating. I get that movie was awful. I agree it was awful. I didn't like it. However, however, I think it's time to give Green Lantern his due. He's still a phenomenal character. He's still a major part of Crisis events and crossover events and the DC universe. Let's do him justice by getting things done right. Hang tight. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. No, Barry. Well, look, I'm okay with that Flash. You know that old Flash from the '90s show being the Flash. Sacrifice count. Hold on again. Sorry about that. Duty calls. Blue Kryptonite. Okay. No, Albert's not going to be here. Linda Carter also confirmed to appear. Ooh, I can't wait for that to happen. I heard the phone over. Yeah, phone was ringing. I had to answer. Nobody else is here right now, so I had to answer. Red Kryptonite. Unpredictable in the comic books. Red Kryptonite, however, in Smallville, much better because it turns him evil. Okay, Ryan Reynolds shows Keith Lee. What are we talking about Keith Lee for? Yes, there was Ryan and you say. All right, so okay, whoa. All right, so finally, want to unpack that one. Okay, so let's get to the next level of conversation on this one because again, huge event, and I think it's been great. They've been packing a lot in. Brandon Routh Superman. Now, if you guys recall, the Brandon Routh Superman was that movie Superman Returns was a sequel to a reboot sequel to Superman 2. It was in the canon of Superman 1 and 2, and then pretend that 3 and Quest for Peace never happened. So, and some people are pretending that this movie never happened. But anyway, not the point. When he shows up, he's the one that suffered a great tragedy. And it was explained that, they don't outright say it, but it was explained that the Joker was upset that the Daily Planet didn't cover him and cover him enough. So the Joker gassed the entire Daily Planet, and he lost. And that Superman, of course, is the only one who survived because he was immune to it. But everyone else was gone. He lost Perry White, Lois, Jimmy Olsen, everybody. And so that was his tragedy. And if that's so, now, some people don't seem to be all that upset about this one. If we're worried that the Smallville show wound up being the Smallville, and I also, they do acknowledge that he looks exactly like Ray Palmer in this universe. They just move on with it. I'm glad that they acknowledged it. But if people are worried about the fate of the Smallville universe, I think you should be worried about the fate of this one, because this is the continuation of the Christopher Reeve universe. So, in a way, kind of, maybe, sort of. So some people, I mean, I understand it's a different actor, so that kind of removes the sting a little bit. You're like, no, it's not. That's not the real Superman. You know, that's not the Christopher Reeve Superman. I don't care what Bryan Singer says. But the point is, by removing it, if that is true in the continuity, that just means like the Margot Kidder, Kate Bosworth character and everything like that. That's what happens to all of them. Like, I think that's way worse than finding out that Smallville guy just doesn't have powers anymore and is happy with a family. No one sees all broken up about that. But it also, and the Daily Planet, like a lot of the aesthetic though from the Brandon Routh character doesn't seem like it is. It doesn't seem like they're connected because the building looks different. But if the Joker did destroy the building, perhaps they would have to revamp it. And also remember, this takes place in the 70s. They would have probably revamped it anyway. So it doesn't look like it doesn't look like the Superman Returns set, and the Superman Returns set also doesn't look like the Christopher Reeve set. So maybe it is, maybe it's not. But that was something that we got. But one thing that I did like about it was that what we have with, give me a second. Why can't I find it? Why can't I find it? Oh, well, it doesn't matter. But yeah, so that's just one thing. So that's one thing to consider. Oh, and by the way, I have no real reason why I need to cut to this. I probably should have cut to it while I had to get up to answer the phone. The poster. I probably should just have used that while I was on the phone as the be right back screen. But anyway, so that was one thing. So nobody seems all broken up about that. But now let's go into it. Honey, it's pretty good here. No problem. Kingdom Come Superman. No, that's the Kingdom Come Superman. I understand that's the costume he's wearing. But again, what are they trying to say, that the Christopher Reeve Superman eventually becomes the Kingdom Come Superman? No, I know what they're referencing, but I know what the costume is. But is that what they're trying to say? Okay, I watched it all on the CW app. Pretty good. I want to eventually see Prime in live action. That would be very cool. Prime and the Batman Who Laughs. Oh man, I don't think they're going to do that, but that would be cool. It's really about let's see, the Batman Who Laughs should appear. That would be awesome. It would be awesome. Okay, all right, good. But finally, let's move on, because the other major part in the second episode, the major thing that people wanted to see, Kevin Conroy playing Batman! Now, this Batman is wearing an exosuit. He can't really walk on his own. He's also kind of retired. And now here's the one I wanted to see in the suit. Forget about Tom Welling in the suit. Kevin Conroy wearing a Batman suit, that's what I want to see. And we don't get it. Now, this is something else that was a major third controversy of this series, is that we finally get Kevin Conroy playing Batman in live action. And I love that he used the Batman voice. He didn't use Kevin Conroy voice. He did the Batman voice the whole time. That was Kevin Conroy's appearance. Great. Awesome. But, as was explained, this Batman is evil. He killed Superman. This Batman killed Superman. And during that fight, Superman roughed him up, and that's why he has to wear that exosuit. This Batman believes in killing and kills everybody and is like quasi-addicted to it. And as a result, He tries because he hates aliens. He hates these outsiders trying to ruin the world. So he hates Kryptonians, and he tries to kill Supergirl. And then Batwoman steps in and accidentally gets him killed. So we see Kevin Conroy biting the dust, not okay. And we also find out that this Batman is the evil Batman. Why couldn't he be the good Batman? And why can't he wear a suit? So this is a big controversy to me. That was rough. That was a tough pill to swallow. I kind of smelt it like something wasn't right because they introduced it by saying the Batman of the future is going to be the Paragon, and it's like, and then you find out, oh, it's Batwoman all along, and it's like, oh, where's Terry McGinnis? Oh, and then it's like this character Luke is there. I'm like, is that gonna be Batman Beyond? Where's my live action Batman Beyond? Where's Kevin Conroy in the suit? I liked the story. The scenes worked. It was a good story. It was a good arc. It's not what I wanted, but it was good. But unfortunately, I was disappointed because I needed that. So like, it's good for what it is, but I didn't want so much more. I wanted to see Terry McGinnis Batman Beyond costume, live action Batman Beyond. I wanted to see Bruce Wayne wearing the suit, Kevin Conroy wearing the suit. I think he earned it. Affleck grief because of Batman. Kevin gave Ben Affleck grief because of his Batman. Oh, hey, if anyone's allowed to criticize your Batman, by the way, Kevin Conroy tweeted to me because I said I would never be, when someone asked me, what do you think about Robert Pattinson playing Batman? I said I will never be satisfied until I get my ideal dream choice, and that's combining the DNA of Christian Bale and Kevin Conroy. Kevin Conroy replied and said, we would rule the world. So that was pretty awesome. Dave, what do you think? Mark Strike, I'm not a big fan of that show. Okay. Dave Long, thank you for stopping by, man. Been awesome. Thank you. Back to work, back to ground. Continue doing that awesome work, Dave Long. One of the great artists there is out there. Marvel having Crisis on Infinite soon in multiverse. Yeah, it's like the one thing that I like about this is that it's taking the Marvel formula and just really spinning it on its ear and kind of saying, "We'll show you how to do it." And it's like, no, do I like Crisis more than the DC than the entire MCU? No, that would be crazy talk. But I do love that they're incorporating different versions and different iterations. Because like how crazy would it be if Marvel did that? Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man shows up along Tom Holland. Maybe Andrew Garfield, or whatever, and they acknowledge the different properties that they used to have, if they could do that, of course. Or if we see, multiple Punishers, or if we see Chris Evans, Human Torch talking to Captain America, and I know that that's easier said than done, but I'm just saying, like, DC taking the bull by the horns and really making this huge event and just acknowledging as many of their past properties as possibly can and just throwing it all together is a really great idea. Reply to our conversation. That's right, Muhammad. I was talking to Muhammad about that. Yes, that is correct. For me, in order to make the Batman Who Laughs right, you almost need a horror film approach. Oh, absolutely, definitely. You remember? Yes, I do remember. Duke Thomas. Okay, what do you think of Lex Luthor coming in Crisis? If it was Michael Rosenbaum's character, I would love that. That's a little bit. I think that's a big chunk for that Lex to handle from last we saw him. But still, I'd much rather that. Dave, can we talk about Spectre? Yes, sorry. Okay, so back to the Green Arrow and Spectre. So as we learn, give me a second. Just got to plug in the computer here. Yeah, sorry about that. So let's finally talk about that. So let's get back to this. So this version of Arrow is being the sacrificial guy. He sacrifices himself. They try to bring him back, and now the idea that he's going to be Spectre. Now, Spectre is a mantle that's been carried on by several characters, but he is, in this version, if he is going to be, now he would play a pivotal role, and since this is technically the Arrowverse, I would find it very hard to believe that they would get rid of him so quickly. I kind of knew he would come back. Oh, and one thing I gotta say is, the opening credits kind of kill a lot of the vibe. They kind of spoiler it a little bit. It's not a super big deal, but in the beginning of the second episode, it says, guest starring Stephen Amell, and it's like, well, I just saw him sacrifice himself at the end of the last episode. I know he's going to be back now because you just told me. Now, sure, maybe he's back in a flashback or something like that, but it's like, he's coming back. So by putting his title, I really wish they wouldn't do those opening credits because I think they give away a good chunk of it. So I wish they would hold off on that. That's one thing I would say. Don't watch Constantine, so I didn't see the Constantine. So I'm not sure about that. I don't think CW has permission to really use Batman, just like how Gotham never really mentioned Joker or Batman. Okay, that's a possibility, and if that's so, that's unfortunate. I would like it if they could. DC's always been really weird, the Bat embargo, which I did an episode on in this channel. I find it weird because it's DC, you own it, and I understand that Marvel does the same thing too, wouldn't it? Spider-Man and all of that, but still, I don't understand. Like Gotham going when CW. Last I checked, Warner Brothers still has a vested interest in the CW. I think they're still connected. And when you own this, and now I have a friend who works for DC Comics, and he says like DC's everything is very compartmentalized. Well, Warner Brothers may be a part of this, may be part of that, and they all might be under the Warner Brothers blanket. It's not as easy as just saying, "Hey, let's play." It's been like, "Oh, they're their separate company. You're your separate company. You got to approve this and got to approve that." And he said it's a lot of like red tape and it's a pain. It's a real pain. Where Marvel doesn't seem to have that problem. With the exception of Spider-Man, it's all under Disney. Disney is free and like, hey, Star Wars, Spider-Man, all this stuff. Like they seem to be a little more integrated. Like Disney tells a Wookiee to jump. The Wookiee says how high. Disney says, hey, we want a Spider-Man theme or we want an Avengers ride. Here you go. They really don't seem to have that problem, where DC and Warner Brothers don't seem to have that synergy as easily. Not saying that either side is easy, just as easy as Marvel does. So the Batman Burger thing I never understood. They let Fox have Gotham, and if that caused them to prevent having bat rights in other shows, that was just foolhardy. I know that it's a bigger platform, but why didn't they put that on the CW? I think it's because they want to reach a bigger audience, but still, for me, that seemed weird. You could have built your audience by having this. Networks can be built off of one show. A lot of people don't realize that, but one show can make all the difference. Can we talk about? Okay, so we did. Yes, he has appeared as Jim Corrigan. Okay, guys, CWDC has done almost every major comic book event before DCU. Fight Nazis, Flashpoint, Crisis on Infinite Earths. I really wish Marvel TV shows accomplished a lot of major events before. I kind of think Marvel always existed in movies. Like, that's just where it is. Marvel live-action TV shows. The last one that I think was really well universally received was probably the Hulk from, like, the 70s. Events in Black Lightning episode, The Book of Resistance. That one, Flash 2 comic book series. Okay, cool. I'm glad you guys are catching me up on all this information. Concepts not able to appear in live-action episodes tie into the event. We, the CW, can use the Batman name. We, the CW, can use the Batman name? If you say so, we, the CW. So Oliver... Yeah, it's a possibility. Okay, so to wrap this up, my overall thoughts on what we have here with Crisis. My overall thoughts on this is I really do like it. I think they're doing a good job of balancing the material, keeping new viewers like myself interested and not feeling lost. They're telling different stories, which I appreciate, and instead of tackling the Crisis head on, they seem to be going to side missions, bringing Ollie back, stopping Lex from destroying all Supermen, having various amounts of different goals, all supposedly, going to see future Batman, old Bruce Wayne, all supposedly leading to these Paragons, these 7, which are needed to stop the Crisis. They don't tell you why or how. Nothing really makes a lot of sense, but they're telling you, they're leading into this. Now, I like it because it's giving us an excuse to visit all these worlds. But at the same hand, it doesn't feel like they're really dealing with the Crisis. It feels like the Crisis is happening, and they're kind of like, oh, that's nice. Well, we got to do the side mission first. And it's like, I get it, and they are dealing with the Crisis, but because it's so not direct, like they first had a tower they had to defend. The team had to defend the tower. There was this tower that they had to, this tower that they had to protect, and they fought that, and it was a great opening fight scene, and that's where Nolly sacrificed himself. But where are we stopping the Anti-Monitor? They're not really getting there. I would like them to. And it's cool, like I said, I liked it, but that's my only hang-up is that they're not really tackling this Crisis as much as they should, and they're sacrificing that to give us cool. And I'm not bitching because that's fine by me, but that would be my thing. I wish the Crisis itself was more of a focal point instead of. I wish they would remember this looming threat was here all the time. However, I will say at the end of season episode 3, it does seem very clear that that's where the rest of the show is going. So not really complain. Like it's a minor gripe, but for the most part, but I still love it. I have no problem with it, and I'm not complaining. Hey, if you're gonna give me all these cool things instead, all right, I'll deal with it. But that's my only thing, that I just don't feel the crisis itself seems all that threatening to these characters. Because they just seem to have other things they'd rather do. And we're getting Green Lantern Corps TV show on HBO. Yeah, we've been confirmed. It's been confirmed a lot of stuff. Okay, so I'll believe it when I see it. Because if I went by everything that's been confirmed, then I have to say that He-Man movie from 2009 was fantastic. Anyway, you get my point. Can't wait for Stargirl. Looks awesome. I would like Static Shock. Yes, please, on that one. Yes. A lot of characters are like Michael Rosenbaum, my man. Number one thing I'm looking forward to. What do you guys want in the Crisis? Then the final 2 episodes. What are you looking forward to? Are there any cameos that you want to happen that has not been confirmed yet? What are you looking to have? Do you think we might even get Kevin Conroy and Tom Welling Superman back? Do you think we might see Tom Welling all-out Superman later on, and this was just, a quick trick, and we might see Kevin Conroy Batman later on too? Maybe. What do you guys think? Let me know all that in the comments if you're watching this recorded and you haven't seen it live. Let me know your cameos and dreams before next year, before we get them, to find out what happens. So what is the rest of it? Because we still have plenty of Crisis to go. So this has been a fantastic episode. So much to unpack. Let me know about other things, and hey, thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you later on the Wrestling Live stream, and as always, Dave knows.